Hello everyone, welcome back to SwitchUp and to another revisit where we're going to re-review the game based on the Switch 2 performance, and this time it's of Fantasy Life I, A Girl Who Steals Time, which I absolutely loved. If you enjoy this content, do leave a comment down below, let me know what you think of the game. Have you been playing it already on Switch 1? And is it actually worth upgrading? Well, my name's Mark Walker, welcome back to SwitchUp, now let's find out. So originally when the game released, performance was adequate, I think is a fair way of putting it. Most of the time it was 30 frames per second. The image quality did suffer a little, you saw some scaling. They used a post-processed blur effect which can look okay, but it can also look, well, blurry. However, there is an option, and that remains with the upgrade, to disable that if you'd rather a more crisp look. Aside from that, load times were also quite good, around 5 to 10 seconds on average. But there were a couple of areas, most notably in the larger open world section, where the performance did drop well below 30 frames per second, so I was intrigued to see how much of a change the update would make. Now, first things first, this is the cheapest, well aside from the free updates, Switch 2 version update I've seen so far. I think it cost me about £2.40 something. If they're going to charge, then a couple of quid seems like quite a reasonable way of doing it. However, I want to see what changes they've made. Have they implemented things like mouse mode, or is this simply a resolution and frame rate bump? And so then we jump over to performance. Now we are looking at a 60 frames per second target. If we go to the hardest to run area, that large open world section, you will see a few frame spikes. They're not that noticeable when you're actually playing, but when we look at the footage, you can see a couple here and there. But the average frame time of 16 milliseconds is excellent. It creates a very responsive feeling game. And certainly compared to the original Switch 1 release, it feels a lot better in that regard. But I was a tiny bit surprised not to see that frame rate constantly 60. But averaging 55 to 60 and in any of the town areas locked out 60 is certainly better. Now if you have the hardware to support it, certainly the bump in resolution, and I believe it's running at native 4K, and it looks like they've toned down or at least altered the technique used for the shallow depth of field that I spoke about. The game just doesn't look as blurry as it did before. As I say, you can turn that off as well to tweak that. We do see some improvements not only to the resolution but actually to the effects and visual quality. Now interestingly, the PC version of the game looks almost identical to this Switch version on the Switch 2, which is a really good sign. I do think there are some people that would have preferred to be able to tweak further things like the shallow depth of field and the bloom effects. It can look a little overblown at times, but still, for a couple of quid, I don't think most people are going to be disappointed with a jump in performance. Now that same jump applies to load times. I mentioned around a 5 to 10, sometimes longer second load time between areas on the Switch 1 version. On Switch 2, you are looking at around about, well, 2 seconds. I think from 2 to 5 as an average is a fair assessment. And what that means is that in general play, alongside that smooth frame rate, there are very few interruptions to your enjoyment and gameplay experience. Performance is significantly better, but it is not perfect. Those few frame spikes and a couple of minor drops could still be addressed in a patch. Originally, I gave visuals and performance 17 out of 20, which I think was fair for the Switch. It ran well, but obviously had those couple of issues. The improvements are certainly nice, and it's the preferred way to play for sure. Even potentially having the edge over PC, with the ability to play in handheld unless you have a ROG or Steam Deck. Visuals and performance score 18 out of 20. What follows is the existing review based on the Switch 1 version. I'll make sure there's an icon in the corner so that you can tell that, and obviously a new score at the end of the video. Now, if there's a particular section that you're interested in, I'd recommend looking at the timestamps because this is going to be a meaty review. I'll try and cover as much as I can, including one particular 5-hour long online session I had, which gave me a good idea of that aspect of the game. And of course, Nintendo Switch performance in both docked and handheld modes. Your experience begins with a reasonably thorough character customization tool, allowing you to change the hair, outfit, faces, so that I could go from a young, fresh-faced individual to something that was much closer to my
current self. Your adventure begins with you accompanying an archaeologist called Edward as you're aboard a vessel travelling towards a mysterious island. They've discovered a dragon fossil which is drawing them towards this place. As they always do, things go awry. A massive skeletal dragon flies through the sky, not with your best intentions at heart. A few things unfold and you find yourself in a completely different time and place, and of course encountering the girl who steals time. Now, I don't want to ruin it because really the story is so much better than I thought it was going to be. Alongside Edward, you've got Trip, who will join you for most of your journey. He's a talking parrot, which isn't that surprising, but he has a helmet which allows him to talk fluently. Very convenient, as he essentially acts as your voice.
Hey, watch it!
The gameplay is much bigger than you're expecting. If you think this is another cozy life sim, you really have to think again. It feels like Level 5 have managed to incorporate the best from the best of each genre. From your Stardew Valleys, you can become a farmer, a builder, a crafter, a tailor, a blacksmith, a miner, literally the job system within Fantasy Life I, your very vocations are referred to as lives. The life system offers you 14 distinct classes, many of which I've just mentioned, but they fall into different categories which seem to cover those genres I mentioned. The mercenary or paladin are your combat classes, as is the hunter if you want to go ranged. There's one that uses magic, or there are various crafting roles, but perhaps its trump card has to be the ability to quickly change between any of these lives. The game also cleverly gives you an introduction to each one, but doesn't force you to do it. So it gives you this opening quest. That's how you essentially reach the first rank. But straight away it will say, do you actually want to do it? Now you might think, well, why on earth would you skip it? Because you will lose out on some experience. But if you've just done the other two combat classes, maybe you just want to get that class so that you can take it out into multiplayer. Now each of those classes also has its own skill tree. Then into your skill tree you gradually put points, and the more within a tree you gain, you reach ranks which then expand the tree. Now it's not simply increasing your ability to do said thing, it'll also introduce new moves or new abilities entirely. I love the life system. So often in titles similar to this, where you essentially have all of your skills from the get-go, after a handful of hours you've almost done every ability and skill. Here it's almost like a vocation that you choose to go down, completing loads of different quest lines, learning about the other characters that also do that same thing, before you decide to yourself, actually, do you know what? I'm going to move on from that for a little while and go to something else. Now the beauty of the system as well is once you're adept in a certain area, you don't have to manually switch between them. As we've seen in other games, if you run up to a tree, once you've learned how to be a woodsman, it'll just bring up the axe and you can start chopping. Your skills and the more basic ones like chopping trees or fishing, they're a little more nuanced. For example, if you strike a tree at just the right spot, you'll do more damage, but if you break the tree within that area, you'll actually get more rewards. One of the skills you unlock allows you to essentially find the sweet spot. The reason that's important is because everything comes with a level. Whether it's a tree or an enemy or a fish, they're all leveled, and as you're doing damage or trying to reel them in, they're also fighting back. Their stamina, if you will, or health, is gradually replenishing. If you don't have enough stamina points to bring them down to 0, you're going to run out of puff, and you're going to have to leave that and charge yourself back up. Now, just remaining stationary will gradually build up your SP points, or you can swig a potion, but there are some higher level enemies or items that it's just not worth trying to take down because they'll just out stamina you. Their stamina bar will go quicker than you can whittle it down, and it'll be a futile effort, as we'll find out when I talk a little bit about my online experiences. Now, combat's slightly different, and I'm glad that it is. Here you can face any enemies. If you find one that's much higher level than you, you can use a combination of locking on, dodging, rolling, doing light and heavy attacks, and perhaps some more advanced moves if you've unlocked them. And if you time your dodges perfectly, you won't take any damage at all, and you can, with a little effort, take down those massive enemies and gain multiple levels in one hit. I really like that. For me, there's nothing worse in a game where they take you to an area and it's like, no. Oh no, you haven't got your gold armor and your shiny bronze helmet and your level 57 sword. Please turn around and go back. That's not how the game feels here. Sure, there are those areas, but you can usually overcome at least a few enemies before you have to run away with your tail between your legs. And that's the perfect time to jump into exploration.
What the?
Now, to get around, you're going to have a few things. Firstly, there are several mounts that you'll find throughout your adventure, be it through the story campaign or through killing enemies, you'll gain new ones, and you can jump on those and ride around the environments. And the areas you have to play in are quite expansive as well. Oh, and they're split between the past, the present, and, well, something else. In fact, these areas are so large, they almost include a Ubisoft-style lookout post system that allows you to gradually unlock and view the map. And you have a mini-map that shows your previous location, where you've run from, and any interesting or pertinent points within your vicinity. One thing you'll get very quickly with Fantasy Life I is that it really respects the player's time. You can jump into a menu and use your dragon to fast travel to any previously visited key locations, and those mounts do allow you to get around really quickly. Just running isn't going to cost you stamina, and you won't take full damage. You can swim from the get-go anywhere you want, and you can climb as much as you want as well. As far as worlds go, this is the most open the series has ever given us. With each of the different classes that you decide to take on, they also come with their own equipment. You can go to the shop and buy new gear, or you can craft it yourself, but then you get companions who join you, and you can equip them as well. Deck them out in new gear, level them up as you go around, and instruct them to carry out tasks based on the jobs that they have. There's a final island that's essentially your home base. Here, all of a sudden, you've got full control. Very much like Animal Crossing, you can place houses, gain new residents, and then have them live in the house of your choice. And then you can decorate the interiors of each and every building and do the same for everything on the outside. There are bulletin boards in every town with various objectives, some which will be passive activities or items that you collect, so that every time you go back to that, you'll be unlocking new things to put within your own little village. Now, if you're someone that really enjoys that aspect, I will say it gets very deep. It's not just your standard benches or piles of wood. Soon you'll be dealing with things which can affect the elevation, slopes and ramps, and there will be people that will create incredible things out of this. So the main game also has main quests and side quests, little activities that you can carry out for just about everyone, and all of this vast expanse of different material and systems is tracked by your Weird Pad. It's like a multifunctional device that covers each and every area that you might need. Despite so many different systems and options, Fantasy Life has been very clear and easy to follow. Suffice to say, there are systems upon systems that I won't go into, but a big one that people will be interested in is the multiplayer. Now, firstly, there's local co-op. If you attach another controller and press the plus button, then the second player controls your trusty companion Trip. He moves much quicker, and he can actually take part in combat as well, and can also help when you're harvesting different resources. Then there's online multiplayer. This one sees you join up to 3 other people for 4 in total, and you can either create a team, take them online, or just search online for anyone, and it has cross-platform as well. I jumped into a game with a few random people, and there's some forms of communication. There's like quick emotes. You can also type if you want, but it's pretty slow. But the online functions a bit like this. You've got the large area of Ginormosia and is split into different biomes, and you'll notice on the map or on the mini-map there are certain tasks for you to complete. As you beat them, you gradually build a bar up, and then a legendary encounter takes place. As the legendary title might suggest, you may well need a legendary character to take it on, but futile or not, it will still let you try. I had an absolute blast with the online play. We had no connection issues at all. We played for, as I say, around 4 or 5 hours in this mode, and realistically, I should have stopped after an hour or two, but it was just too much fun. Now it is rather simplistic. Much of the single player content is taken out, but you can power level in this mode and that will carry back over to single player. So if you have a few players that are maybe a little higher in certain areas, you will gain so much experience. There are also unique hidden items that can be found in this mode. It really was good fun, and that was with a group of random players. If you're a fan of sim life games, this one might be for you. If you're a fan of action RPGs, this one might be for you. If you're a fan of neither of those, I've got a feeling this one might be for you. As I said at the start, this really is one of the best games I've played all year. It does have its slight flaws, but overall, it's incredibly fun and constantly engaging you with new things. The hardest part about it so far has been to put it down to make this review. I'm going to give gameplay 19 out of 20. Controls, they score 18 out of 20. Life I, the girl who steals time, is going to set you back £49.99 or your regional equivalent, and there's a deluxe version. Of course there is, if you want to go that way. It's a 6.3 gig download, and there is easily 100 to 150 hours content, and that's if you don't spend 100 hours just decorating your own island and town area or playing multiplayer sessions that are far too long. This is really a great game. To give you an idea, although I got this one early, I also bought it. I really struggled to see what more they could have done, bar a few areas where it drags out a little. I give value 19 out of 20.
Overall, the Switch 2 version is certainly the best way to play the game. Not a huge surprise, but it's also surprising that they opted to go at least for a very low price rather than £10 or £15 for this upgrade, and I've got a lot of time for that. But I do think a free upgrade, seeing as the game only just came out, may have been even better. Fantasy Life, the girl who steals time, on Nintendo Switch 2 gets a SwitchUp score of 92%. Thanks to all of you that enjoy the content, to our Patreons and our members. I hope this is of some use to you, and as always, for all things Switch all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers guys, see ya!